So this will be probably a very different presentation to most that you'll see today. There's nothing nano going to be mentioned in this. About 15 years ago, I really looked at some of the research I was doing. I said to myself, what do I want to do? I really want to make a difference in my life, and I want my research to actually get out there and to be impactful to people. And so I hope that this really covers off the people theme. MotoCAP. This is our laboratory at Deakin University, which is in the fibres hub of ANFF, and some of the equipment in this space is bookable under the ANFF project. Farouk, who's one of my colleagues in next door, is talking about one of our other projects, which is the Country Road project that we're doing at the moment. Knock him up and talk to him about what he's doing there. Why am I in this space? For every fatality that we hear about on the road that involves a motorcycle, what we don't hear about are the ones below here. And I've left off another line, which is about another 700 riders that also have injuries. So if we look at it, for every fatality, there is 30 people that are seriously injured on the road, and there are 74 with lesser injuries, and there's about 700 that have some form of injury after a motorcycle crash. So those are quite large numbers when we look at the number of people that are out there riding motorcycles. If we look, another big problem in the space is the failure rate of motorcycle protective gear. One of my colleagues, Dr. Liz Jerome, did some work back in 2008, 2009, which is still referred to on a regular basis because no one's repeated it at the moment. She looked at everyone that crashed in Canberra over a 2-year period, and she looked at what they were wearing, and we found between 25 to 30% of the gear had actually failed without protecting the rider. So the rider had gone out, spent the money, bought the gear, and when they crashed it didn't do anything. Also, we see this rider down the bottom here quite commonly, and whenever I talk to the general public about protective motorcycle clothing, everyone says, saw a bloke the other day riding in shorts and t-shirt. We have low usage rates in some places in Australia because of hot conditions. When you look at today, riding a motorcycle in protective gear would not be super comfortable. Then, if we look at what the governments see from this, is the cost of road trauma. Now, this is a crash down on the Great Ocean Road, not far from here. 2 motorcyclists were involved. It was, from the court cases, caused by the person driving the red car, being on the wrong side of the road. And the motorcyclist on the right-hand motorcycle spent 12 months and still had not got back to where they were before the crash from injuries. If we look at road trauma, in Australia in 2012, it was estimated that road trauma cost the Australian government or the Australian people about $27 billion. Now that is loss of productivity, that is injuries, that is the potential to not work, all of the bits and pieces that contribute into that. If we break it down just using some of the numbers from New Zealand, road trauma in New Zealand cost $117 million in 2022. And New Zealand doesn't have a great number of riders. They have about 120,000 riders in their network over there. And they know from their data, because they've got quite good data, if we just look at health and loss of income, we're looking at about $15,000 per rider per injury, which is quite high. If we look at cars, they're significantly lower than that. And that's because if you're on a motorcycle, you are a vulnerable road user because you have only you and your clothing around you and your skills that are protecting you. So that's where MotoCAP come in. So MotoCAP is a motorcycle clothing assessment program. It was devised by Dr. Liz Jerome and myself, and Liz has been pushing it for a lot longer than what I have, but we really felt that there needed to be information given out to riders that would help them to understand what they were buying. If you walk into a store, the person behind the counter will tell you anything they want to sell you the product that makes them the most money. It doesn't necessarily mean it will be protective. So we developed a program for the Australian and New Zealand government We spent a 12-month period where we tested that to make sure that it was working properly. And about 5.5 years ago, we went live with the results. And they're all up on the MotoCAP website. Top image on the right-hand side is what the website looks like. We have approximately 10,000 people looking at the website a month, and we can track what they're looking at and where they're going. And we do lots of work. This is me presenting at Shiny Side Up, which is a program in New Zealand. This is a MotoGP stand over on the right-hand side. We're going out and trying to talk to riders. Now, this is a very different experience for a researcher who's used to going into a lab and just looking at something in the lab. Looking at how you change your message so that it's important to get out to people is a really important part of the research I do. So if we look at it, we've set it up that you can have a number of levels of user involvement. This one's the simplest. You have stars for safety and you have stars for breathability. So how comfortable it will be to wear in hot weather and how protective it will be if you fall off. For those that want to delve in more, and I can tell you there are people that delve in a lot further, we go down to the individual elements, which is abrasion, impact, burst, which is the strength of seams, and then different information on breathability and also water resistance. The website's been set up that people can compare from one to another, which is quite important. And at the moment, there's about 850 jackets, pants and gloves on the website, and also quite a large number of helmets. I don't know the number of helmets exactly because I don't look after that part. For those that really want to delve in, and we really set this up for manufacturers, we have a 5-page test report for every product that we test. And we know, because I'm visiting manufacturers on a regular basis, in 2 days' time I'll be a manufacturer in New Zealand, and I won't be surprised to find these floating around their building, because they're now able to compare directly with their customer's product without having to go and pay to test it. And so we're having an influence in the protective gear that's out there just with this program. And to give you an example, we'll be presenting at the Road Safety Conference this year. I haven't got the graphs up here, but Australian protective gear is actually increasing in protection over the last 5 years. All other areas in the world are pretty much decreasing, bar 1 or 2 product lines or 1 or 2 brands in those areas. So we are seeing an effect rolling out into product. One of the things we try to do is to get our information out to riders, and this is a piece that we did. Women's leggings, motorcycle leggings, are very, very popular. Women find them very comfortable to ride in, but 8 out of the 10 when we put this video together had got half a star on the MotoCAP program, and so we really wanted to get that information out there. Since this video's been out, we're now at 11 out of 13, 11 out of 14 I think it is, that have got half a star. So it's not better, unfortunately.
Most motorcyclists wear protective clothing when they ride a motorcycle. High-stretch motorcycle leggings provide support, body shaping, wearer comfort and ease of movement, making them popular with women riders. 7 out of 10 protective motorcycle leggings tested by MotoCAP have only achieved half a star for protection. Low-performing leggings abrade away well before the slide is over, letting the road surface bite into your legs. Seams can burst open, exposing the wearer's body to the road. Some leggings have no hip and or knee impact protection, causing the force of a crash to smash a rider's body. Use MotoCAP to choose the right gear for your ride. Choose the right gear for your ride.
So it's trying to get that message out there. It took us some period of time and some mess in the laboratory to come up with that chalk test, for instance, to try and show how good an impact protector was. Because the standard test uses a load cell, but that doesn't convey a great amount out to the average rider that these things make a difference. We tried grapefruit and lemons and all sorts of different things until we finally got the chalk system just to be able to show that this is effective. Other things that we're doing that come out of the MotoCAP program is the additional research we're doing for different groups. The Guide for Manufacturers, which is available on the MotoCAP website, was funded by the Department of Transport and also Transport for New South Wales. And this is a 104-page guide out there of our research to tell manufacturers how to make good gear. And this is stuff that we've learnt from our laboratory experiments, but also from looking at so many pieces of gear when we've done testing. Wei, who's over on the far right-hand side, is continuing to do this research as part of the Future Fibres Research Hub that we have, and we've got a 5-year program with Transport for New South Wales and Department of Transport and Planning here in Victoria. And this abrasion test rig that you can see on the back of the car here is the only one in the world. It's been to New Zealand, it's been to the UK, and this enables us to test how the road surfaces perform versus the laboratory machine. And we're in the process of building another one of these at the moment for a third party that would like to have one. And so, takeaway message of all this is motorcycle trauma or even road trauma has a high financial and social cost to us in Australia, but also this is worldwide. MotoCAP is trying to provide independent advice to riders when they go out to buy clothes. We don't want to tell them you will wear this, we want to give them the advice that they can make the correct decisions. And then continued information to riders is one way to educate and reduce costs. And we know this because in New Zealand they have a program called Ride Forever, where they bring riders in, they train them, and if you've done the Ride Forever program, you're 57% less likely to be involved in a crash than if you haven't done the program, and that's evened out to make sure that it's not including the ones that would just go out and seek help rather than the risk takers. And so we know that giving information to riders to make the right decisions is really important. So that's it. I'll finish with a photo of motorcycles because that's one of my loves as well. So thank you.
Excellent, lovely presentation. Any questions for Chris?
Chris, that was great. So there seems to be a bit of tension though. So you've got all of your clothing that everyone wants to go for something that's safe, but it's really uncomfortable. And then the ones that are comfortable, people choose because they're comfortable but they're unsafe.
So you can have safety and comfort. That is definitely clear from the testing we've done, the research that we've done, which is another reason why we've written the guide for manufacturers. What tends to happen is the manufacturer says, it's impossible. You can't have comfort and safety, but you can. I've got a jacket that's been made by a company here in Melbourne that we're testing in the laboratory at the moment. It is a mesh jacket. You can see through it pretty much, and it's got the same protection as a leather jacket because they've read the guide for manufacturers and they talk to us and they've put into that jacket the learnings that we've had over the last 7 to 8 years, and they've got a product that will make a difference in hot weather.
Great, thanks.
So as a keen push bike cyclist, do you think there's a role for a similar kind of program in the cycling community?
So we're working on cycle clothing at the moment. I have a PhD student who is looking at impact protection. We've also just got a program up under the Vulnerable Road Users funding out of Canberra with QUT, where we'll be looking at bicycle clothing. However, there's very little protective bicycle clothing out there on the market apart from helmets because of the stigma of, it will make me hot and I won't be able to move right. And so there is ways around that, and unfortunately what we would need is someone on the Tour de France to be wearing our gear, fall off, get up, hop on their bike and keep riding, and then suddenly we'd be able to sell huge amounts out there and we'd have huge adoption of protective clothing. But it's how you get to that point is the biggest problem.
Let me ask you a question, Chris. You talked about your guide for manufacturers. Do you actively get involved in consulting to manufacturers before they make a new line of clothing or to improve their clothing?
So we've actually, because we're very well funded from the government, we've made the decision not to tie up IP. We're very much going down the Volvo seatbelt model of 1972 or 74, I think it was, where we're trying to get it out there and published and in the general domain so that no one can say, you can't. An example is Alpine Stars and Dionysia have the 2 patents for electronic airbags. No one else can manufacture them. We're trying to avoid that. We're trying to get the information out there so that anyone can use it. So it's a different philosophy to what you would normally have. for me, it's how we can make a difference, and if over the next 10 years or 15 years we see the road toll or the injuries for motorcyclists go down, then hopefully we'll have contributed something to the world.
Thanks, Chris. We'll need to move on. We're going to run out of time, but you can ask questions afterwards.
Now, sorry, I'm going to have to leave in a minute because I've got a flight to New Zealand this afternoon.
We need to touch bases with that person, so thanks, Chris.